Hello there and welcome to the Breakfast Rundown with me, Zulfick Farzan. Well, it was an interesting and exciting day for Sri Lankan cricket fans as the home team levelled the T20I series against the West Indies all the way in Nabulla. We have all those details, but first let's take a look at what's happening here at home. Well, Sri Lanka's Met Department has forecasted a decrease in rainfall starting today. Director of the Forecasting Division, Ajit Vijayman, has said that several areas across the country will experience intermittent showers. Meanwhile, the number of people who have been affected by the adverse weather conditions that impacted Sri Lanka over the past few days has increased to 160,093. The latest report from the Disaster Management Centre says that 9,591 individuals remain in 70 safe locations. Tragically, 3 people lost their lives due to the adverse weather conditions. In other developments, the Provincial Director of Education announced that all schools in the Colombo, Gampaha and Kalaniya zones, which are not operating as safety centres, will reopen today. Additionally, the Department of Irrigation reported that the flood threat from the Kalani, Kalu, Nilwala, Gin and Attanagalu Oya rivers is now receding. The landslide warnings issued for several divisional secretariats in 7 districts, including Colombo, Galle, Gampaha, Kalutara, Galle, Ratnapura and Nuwara, will remain in effect until this afternoon. Well, the Met Department is forecasting that there will be several showers experienced across the country. However, they are expecting that showers will decrease starting from today, yet some areas in the country will experience intermittent showers as well. And as usual, these showers may be accompanied by lightning, and we would like to warn our viewers to take the necessary precautions to prevent lightning-related accidents. Shifting gears from weather to the local election scene, the Election Commission has announced that the maximum expenditure limit for candidates or political parties on behalf of a voter during the parliamentary elections will be declared through a Gazette notification today. The Commission said that the secretaries of political parties contesting the election submitted their proposals regarding this matter yesterday. In addition, representatives of independent groups also contesting the parliamentary elections have submitted their proposals concerning election-related expenses. Now, all these proposals will be reviewed and considered today, and the relevant Gazette notification will be issued accordingly. This Gazette notification will be issued in accordance with the Regulation of Election Expenditure Act of Sri Lanka. At the same time, how do you plan to vote? Well, the election is on the 14th of November. Now, who is going to be your candidate? Who are you going to vote for? Now, that comes down to the preferential voting numbers. The Election Commission has announced that the preference numbers for candidates contesting the parliamentary elections will be released today. Chairman RMA L. Ratnayaka stated that the district returning officers will be responsible for issuing these preference numbers. Now, you might wonder how many candidates are trying to get into Parliament this time around. Well, that number stands at 8,352. That's right, 8,352 candidates are contesting in this general election, and the highest number of candidates are from the Colombo district. That's 966 candidates are competing from the Colombo district. Yesterday, commuters using the trains to travel to Colombo were left stranded and in discomfort as a derailment took place close to the Mardana railway station, and also a fire broke out in one of the office trains all the way down in Kalutara. Well, Sri Lanka Railways has now said that the upcountry and main lines, the operations of train services along the upcountry and main lines have been restored. Now, last afternoon, train operations on the upcountry line were disrupted due to a derailment between Thalava Calais and Watagoda. At the same time, the Railways Control Room reported that a train service on the main line was delayed yesterday due to a derailment of the Meenagaya train between Colombo Fort and Maradana. Now, Sri Lanka Railways has announced that all services of trains in these lines are back to normal. In an interesting development, a Deputy Commissioner of the Eastern Province Revenue Department has been arrested on the allegations of accepting a bribe of 200,000 rupees. According to the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, this Deputy Commissioner had accepted a bribe in connection with a case involving the sale of a property in Batiklo valued at 10 million Sri Lankan rupees. The bribe was allegedly taken to facilitate the transaction without paying the required stamp duty. The suspect is scheduled to be presented in court. At the same time, Sri Lanka Navy has rushed to the rescue of a fisherman who had fallen ill in the deep seas. Sri Lanka Navy has rendered assistance to bring ashore an ill fisherman who was aboard a local multi-day fishing trawler on the high seas southwest of Sri Lanka, about 881 nautical miles off Dondra Head. Initially, the fisherman was retrieved by a merchant vessel in the sea area after it was coordinated by the Maritime Rescue Coordination Center in Colombo. Now, the vessel that engaged in the rescue was the MV CCNI Andes, and thereafter the Sri Lanka Navy had deployed a fast attack craft from the Colombo Offshore Patrol Limit for the rescue of this fisherman. After being brought ashore, this ill fisherman from Sri Lanka was rushed to hospital for treatment. The World Bank is now saying that ending poverty for half the world could take more than a century. At today's feeble pace, it could take more than a century to eliminate poverty as it is defined for nearly half the world, people who live on less than $6.85 per day. Now, this is according to the World Bank's new Poverty, Prosperity and Planet report. The report offers the first post-pandemic assessment of global progress towards eradicating poverty and boosting shared prosperity on a livable planet. The global goal of ending extreme poverty, defined as $2.15 per day per person by 2030, is now out of reach. It could take 3 decades or more to eliminate poverty at this threshold, which is relevantly primarily for low-income countries. Almost 700 million people, 8.5% of the global population, live today on less than $2 per day, with 7.3% of the population projected to be living in extreme poverty in 2030. Extreme poverty remains concentrated in countries with historically low economic growth and fragility, many of which are in the sub-Saharan Africa. At the same time, the IMF held a discussion last night ahead of the annual meetings of the IMF and the World Bank Group. It says that uncertainty is not as easily measured as traditional indicators like growth or inflation, but economists have built some reliable proxies. One of the best known gauges is the Economic Policy Uncertainty Index, which tallies how many news stories in major publications cite uncertainty, the economy and the policy. Others track the difference between published economic data and what economists previously projected. Now, this was discussed at a forum by the IMF last evening.
The uncertainty is high, but on the other hand, when we see financial market indicators, for example, implied or realized volatility in stock markets, there has been a disconnect, which we call macro market disconnect. And this is not the first time it happens, so there are moments where we observe these situations where uncertainty is high and is not fully reflected in financial market volatility. And there are some explanations, some reasons in the academic literature that have tried to study why this happens. So one of them, for example, that you can think about is the possibility of central bank puts limiting spikes in volatility. So if market participants have the perception that the central banks will will actually intervene. This may limit volatility in the markets and create a disconnect with fundamental uncertainty, which could be high.
Well, Pakistan is hosting a two-day gathering of leaders of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, or the SEO, a security group created by China and Russia to counter the Western-led global order. The SEO comprises China, Russia, India, Pakistan, Iran, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Belarus. Now, the bloc claims to represent 40% of the world's population and about 30% of its GDP. However, its members have diverse political systems. Some of them, such as India and China, are also regional competitors and have border disputes. For the gathering in Pakistan, China, Russia, and other major SEO players have sent their prime ministers, but India is represented by External Affairs Minister Dr. Subramaniam Jaishankar. Jaishankar's visit comes almost 9 years after his predecessor Sushma Swaraj had visited the capital of neighboring country in December 2015 and had given consent to restart the stalled bilateral dialogue. Now, Dr. Subramaniam Jaishankar attended an informal dinner hosted by Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif in honor of the leaders and the delegations of the SEO nations. Well, it was some exciting action yesterday in Dabullah and some sort of relief for Sri Lankan cricket fans as Sri Lanka levelled the series against West Indies. Sri Lanka stormed back to level this three-match T20 series with an emphatic 73-run win over the West Indies on Tuesday, marking their largest ever margin of victory against the Caribbean side. The dominant performance in Dambulla was Sri Lanka's sixth largest T20I win against any team, surpassing their previous best over West Indies, a 57-run triumph in London in 2009. Sri Lanka, after setting a competitive target of 163, unleashed a relentless assault from their spinners, skittling the visitors for just 89 runs in 16.1 overs. This score marked the West Indies' lowest total against Sri Lanka in T20 internationals and their sixth lowest ever. The spin-dominated attack claimed 9 wickets with only 3 overs of pace bowled, capitalizing on a worn pitch that deteriorated quickly, leaving West Indies with no foothold in the chase. Well, it may be October, but the Christmas cheer is already here. Christmas cake mixing ceremony brings festive cheer to Colombo. Colombo hosted a delightful Christmas cake mixing ceremony, an event that tantalized taste buds and ushered in the festive spirit. Organized by Cinnamon Lakeside, the ceremony was a celebration of culinary artistry and holiday cheer, marking the beginning of the Christmas season with flair and flavor. As you can see on your screens right now, you can see the chefs excitedly mixing that cake for the Christmas cheer.
Nama PT yang produksi,